I heard my mother's voice through the phone like she was asking me to pick up milk. "We sold your dialysis medication, Maya. Your brother needs this honeymoon more than you need those next 6 doses." If you have ever been treated like your survival was negotiable, subscribe and tell me where you are watching from. My name is Maya Chen. I am 24 years old. I work as a medical transcriptionist from home because my kidney disease requires a strict schedule of treatments and medications. April 3rd, 2024, was the day my parents decided my life was worth less than a beach vacation. I need to take you back so you understand this was not a one-time mistake. This was a pattern I had spent years refusing to see. When I was 19 and had just been diagnosed with chronic kidney disease, my parents hosted a family dinner to announce the news. I remember sitting at our dining room table, the one my grandfather built, with its deep mahogany grain and the water ring from where my dad always set his coffee. My mother stood up before dessert and said we needed to talk about my condition. Then she turned to my brother Ethan and said, "This means you will need to step up as the healthy child." Not once did she ask how I felt. Not once did anyone look at me. I spent the rest of that evening in my room listening to them discuss Ethan's graduate school applications through the wall. 2 years later, I had saved $4,000 for a security deposit on an accessible apartment closer to my dialysis center. I kept the cash in an envelope in my desk drawer. One Sunday, I came home from treatment to find the envelope empty and a note on my bed in my father's handwriting. "Borrowed for Ethan's car down payment. He needs reliable transportation for his new job. We will pay you back." They never did. When I brought it up at Thanksgiving, my mother said I was being selfish because I work from home and do not even need to drive anywhere. The third time, my mother gave my emergency medical contact information to Ethan's girlfriend so she could list me as a reference for a luxury apartment in Manhattan. I only found out when the leasing office called me at 11 p.m., asking about my financial guarantees for a 23-year-old woman I had met twice. When I confronted my mom, she said I should be honored to help build Ethan's future. That was the landscape of my life. I was the backdrop. Ethan was the main event. Now back to April 3rd, 2024. I had just finished my morning dialysis session at home. It was 10:47 a.m. I was sitting on my couch with my treatment log open on my laptop when my phone rang. My mother's name lit up the screen. I answered thinking maybe she was calling to check on me since I had mentioned feeling extra fatigued that week. "Maya, good, you are home," my mother said. Her voice had that bright, artificial cheerfulness she uses when she has already decided something and is just informing me after the fact. "I just finished treatment," I said. "What's up?" "Your father and I were going through your medication stash in the garage fridge yesterday," she said. I sat up straighter. My medication stash. I kept 3 months' worth of my dialysis medication in a small refrigerator in my parents' garage because my apartment fridge was not large enough and the medication required strict temperature control. My parents had insisted I store it there. They said it made sense since I visited twice a week anyway and they could keep an eye on it for me. "We found a buyer for those dialysis meds," my mother continued. "A woman in a Facebook group for medical resale. She paid us $3,200, cash." I could not breathe. I could not form words. "Maya, are you there?" my mother asked. "You sold my medication?" I finally said. "The medication that keeps me alive?" "Do not be so dramatic," my mother said. "You have enough for this week, and your prescription refills in 6 days anyway. The woman needed it immediately for her father, and Ethan's honeymoon deposit is due today. The resort in Bali will not hold the booking past 5 p.m. I felt my hands start shaking. "You sold medication that I need to survive so Ethan can go to Bali?" "Maya, your brother is getting married. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event," my mother said. Her tone shifted, sharpening into the voice she used when she expected compliance. "You get medication every month. He only gets one honeymoon. We are family. Family helps each other." "I help all the time," I said. My voice cracked. "I gave you my savings. I co-signed for his car. I barely have enough to cover my own medical bills, and you just sold the medication I need to stay out of the hospital. You are being incredibly selfish right now. My father's voice cut in. He had picked up the other line. Your brother has done everything right. He graduated top of his class. He has a great job. He is marrying a wonderful woman. He deserves this happiness. You should want to contribute. Contribute? I repeated. This is not a contribution. This is theft. That medication is prescribed to me. It is illegal to sell it. Do not threaten us, my mother said coldly. We are your parents. We have sacrificed everything for you kids. If you had a better attitude, maybe you would understand what it means to put family first. She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. My hands were still shaking. I had 6 days of medication left. My next prescription refill was not guaranteed because my insurance had flagged my account last month for early refill requests after I had accidentally spilled a vial. If I could not get an emergency override, I would miss treatments. Missing treatments meant toxin buildup. Toxin buildup meant seizures, organ failure, or death. I called my nephrologist's office. The receptionist put me through to the nurse line. I explained what happened. The nurse, whose name was Linda, went silent for a long moment. Your parents sold your prescribed dialysis medication? Linda asked slowly, like she was making sure she heard correctly. Yes, I said. $3,200 worth. They said I could wait 6 days for my refill. Maya, you cannot miss more than 2 treatments without serious risk, Linda said. Her voice was steady but urgent. I am putting you through to Dr. Patel right now. Dr. Patel came on the line 2 minutes later. I explained again. He asked me to confirm the exact medications, the quantities, and the dates. Then he said something I will never forget. Maya, what your parents did is not just unethical. It is a criminal act. That medication is a controlled medical supply with your name on it. Selling it without your consent is theft, and selling prescription medication is a felony. You need to file a police report immediately. I felt something crack open inside me. Not anger, clarity. What do I do first? I asked. Dr. Patel talked me through it. He said he would file an emergency override with my insurance for an immediate refill. He would document the theft in my medical record. He said I needed to contact the police and get a report number so the insurance would process the override without pushback. Then he said, Maya, I have been your doctor for 5 years. I need you to hear this. What your parents did could kill you. That is not an exaggeration. You need to protect yourself. I called the non-emergency police line at 11:32 a.m. The officer who answered took my information and said he would send someone to my apartment. 2 officers arrived at 1:15 p.m. One of them, Officer Brennan, was a woman in her 40s with graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. The other, Officer Coe, was younger, maybe early 30s, and he carried a tablet for notes. I told them everything. I showed them my prescription bottles with my name and the dosage instructions. I showed them the text messages from my mother confirming she had sold the medication. I showed them my medical treatment log and the photos I had taken of the garage fridge where I stored the medication, with the date stamps visible. Officer Brennan looked at Officer Coe. This is felony theft and illegal distribution of prescription drugs, she said. Do you want to press charges? Officer Coe asked me. I hesitated. These were my parents. But then I remembered my mother's voice. You are being incredibly selfish. I remembered my father. He deserves this happiness. Yes, I said. I want to press charges. Officer Brennan nodded. She took photos of everything. She wrote down my parents' full names and address. She said a detective would follow up within 48 hours, and that I should not contact my parents directly. She gave me a report number and said to forward it to my doctor and insurance immediately. After they left, I sat on my couch and stared at the report number on the paper in my hand. I thought about calling my brother, but then I realized he already knew. He had to know. This was for his honeymoon. I called my best friend instead. Her name is Priya. We met in a chronic illness support group 3 years ago. She has lupus. She understands what it is like when your body is a full-time job. They did what? Priya said when I told her. I repeated the whole story. When I finished, Priya was quiet for a beat. Then she said, Maya, I need you to listen to me. You have spent your entire adult life making yourself smaller so your brother could take up more space. This is not love. This is abuse. And it almost killed you. Her words landed like a physical weight. I know, I said quietly. I know. What do you need? Priya asked. I need to make sure this never happens again, I said. I need to take back control. Then let's build a plan, Priya said. We called it Operation Baseline. The name came from a medical term. Your baseline is your normal, your standard, the level you need to maintain to survive. I was going to establish my baseline, and no one was going to drop me below it ever again. Priya came over that night with her laptop and a legal pad. We sat at my kitchen table and made a list. Step 1. Secure my medication and medical supplies. I would move everything out of my parents' garage immediately. Priya offered space in her climate-controlled storage unit. I would add a lock only I had the key to. Step 2. Document everything. I would compile every text message, voicemail, email, and financial record showing the pattern of my parents taking from me and prioritizing my brother. I would organize it by date in a binder with tabs. Step 3. Cut financial ties. I would remove myself as co-signer on my brother's car loan. I would freeze my credit. I would change my medical emergency contact from my parents to Priya. Step 4. Legal consultation. Priya had a friend who worked as a paralegal at a family law firm. She said she could get me a free initial consultation to explore my options for a restraining order or civil suit if needed. Step 5. Boundaries with consequences. I would write a formal letter to my parents outlining exactly what they did, why it was illegal and life-threatening, and what my boundaries would be moving forward. No access to my medical information. No access to my finances. No contact unless they acknowledged the harm and made full restitution. We worked until 9 p.m. By the end, I had 3 pages of tasks, deadlines, and contingencies. I felt something I had not felt in years. I felt like I mattered. The next morning, April 4, I drove to my parents' house at 7 a.m. I knew they would both be home. I brought Priya with me as a witness. I also brought a small duffel bag and a cooler. My mother answered the door in her bathrobe. She looked surprised to see me. Maya, what are you doing here so early? She asked. I am here to get my medication, I said. It is not here anymore, my mother said. She did not even look guilty. I told you I sold it. I know, I said. I am here to get anything else that belongs to me. I walked past her into the garage. My father came out from the kitchen. Maya, you cannot just barge in here, he said. I am not barging in. I am collecting my property, I said. I opened the garage fridge. It was empty except for a 6-pack of beer and some leftover takeout containers. I took photos with my phone, making sure the timestamp was visible. Why are you taking pictures? My mother asked. Her voice had an edge now. For my records, I said. I checked the shelves where I had stored backup medical supplies. Empty. I photographed that too. Then I turned to my parents. I filed a police report yesterday, I said. Case number 2404037291. You sold my prescription medication without my consent. That is theft and illegal distribution of controlled substances. Both are felonies. My father's face went white. My mother laughed, but it sounded forced. You are being ridiculous, my mother said. We are your parents. The police are not going to do anything. The officers said a detective will contact you within 48 hours, I said. I also spoke with my doctor. He has documented this in my medical file as medical neglect and endangerment. If I end up in the hospital because I cannot get my medication replaced in time, that documentation will be part of any criminal or civil case. You are threatening us? My father said. His voice was rising. After everything we have done for you? What have you done for me? I asked. The question came out calm, almost curious. You took my savings. You gave away my personal information. You sold medication I need to live. What exactly have you done for me, Dad? He did not answer. I am done, I said. I am removing myself as co-signer on Ethan's car loan. I am changing my emergency contacts. You no longer have access to any of my medical or financial information. Do not call me. Do not come to my apartment. If you contact me, I will document it and provide it to the police. You are making a huge mistake, my mother said. Her voice was shaking now. When you come crawling back, do not expect us to just forgive you. I am not coming back, I said. Priya and I walked out. My hands were shaking again, but this time it was adrenaline, not fear. On the drive home, Priya reached over and squeezed my hand. You did it, she said. I did, I said. That afternoon, my phone started blowing up. Ethan called 6 times. I did not answer. He left voicemails. In the first one, he sounded confused. Maya, Mom said you filed a police report. What is going on? Call me back. By the 4th voicemail, he sounded angry. You are seriously going to ruin my wedding over this? Mom and Dad were just trying to help me. You have always been jealous that they are proud of me. Grow up. I saved all the voicemails. I added them to the binder. On April 6th, a detective named Sarah Ortiz called me. She said she had reviewed the police report and spoken with my parents. She said my parents admitted to selling the medication, but claimed I had given them verbal permission. I told Detective Ortiz I had not. I sent her the text messages showing my mother telling me after the fact, and my response asking how she could do that. Detective Ortiz said she would be pursuing charges. She said the case would go to the district attorney's office for review. She also said I should consider getting a restraining order if my parents continued to contact me. They did. On April 7th, my mother showed up at my apartment at 6 a.m. She knocked on my door for 10 minutes. I did not answer. She stood outside yelling that I was tearing the family apart, that I was selfish, that I would regret this. A neighbor called building security. Security escorted her out and filed an incident report. I got a copy of that report and added it to the binder. That same day, my insurance approved the emergency override. I picked up my replacement medication at 3 p.m. The pharmacist, whose name tag read Marcus, looked at my paperwork and then at me. I saw the note from your doctor, Marcus said quietly. I am really sorry this happened to you. Thank you, I said. I did not trust myself to say more. I went home and administered my treatment on schedule. I did not miss a single dose. On April 9th, I met with the paralegal Priya had connected me with. Her name was Natasha Verne. She was in her mid-30s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. I brought my binder. Natasha went through every document. She took notes. When she finished, she looked up at me. You have an airtight case for a civil suit, Natasha said. Theft of $4,000 in savings, the cost of the stolen medication, emotional distress and endangerment. I would estimate you could recover between $10,000 and $15,000 in damages. You also have grounds for a restraining order based on the harassment and the incident at your apartment. What do you recommend? I asked. That depends on what you want, Natasha said. Do you want money or do you want boundaries? I thought about it. I want them to understand they cannot do this anymore, I said. Not to me, not to anyone. Then we go for both, Natasha said. We file for a restraining order first. That is immediate and it sends a clear message. Then we file a civil suit. Even if they settle, it creates a legal record. If they violate the restraining order or try this again, that record will matter. I hired her firm that day. The retainer was $2,000. I paid it with my own money I had saved from my transcription work. On April 12th, the restraining order was granted. It prohibited my parents from contacting me directly or indirectly, from coming within 500 feet of my home or workplace, and from accessing any of my medical or financial information. The order was valid for 1 year. My parents were served on April 14th. According to the process server's report, my mother cried. My father tried to refuse the papers. It did not matter. they were served. The same day, Ethan sent me an email. It was long, full of accusations and self-pity. He said I had ruined his wedding. He said our parents were devastated. He said I was vindictive and cruel. At the end, he wrote, "I hope you are happy now that you have destroyed this family." I wrote back one line. I did not destroy this family. I stopped letting it destroy me. I never heard from him again. On May 2nd, my attorney sent a demand letter to my parents. It outlined the $4,000 in stolen savings, the $3,200 for the medication, $1,500 in legal fees, and $5,000 in damages for emotional distress and endangerment. The total was $13,700. The letter gave them 30 days to respond. On May 28th, their attorney sent a counteroffer. They would pay the $4,000 in savings and the $3,200 for the medication. They would not pay legal fees or damages. They included a statement that they had acted out of love and desperation to help their son, and that they deeply regretted any harm caused. Natasha called me when the offer came in. "It is not everything, but it is most of the tangible damages," she said. "If we go to court, we will probably win more, but it will take months and cost you more in legal fees. What do you want to do?" I thought about it for 2 days. Then I called Natasha back. "I will take the $7,200, I said. "But I want one more thing in the settlement. I want a written apology that acknowledges what they did was illegal and harmful. And I want them to agree to have no contact with me for a minimum of 2 years unless I initiate it. If they violate that, the restraining order automatically extends and they forfeit the settlement." Natasha drew up the terms. My parents' attorney tried to push back on the apology. Natasha told them we would go to court. They agreed. On June 15th, 2024, I received a cashier's check for $7,200 and a signed letter from my parents. The letter was one paragraph. It said they acknowledged that selling my medication without consent was illegal and harmful, that they understood the severity of their actions, and that they agreed to no contact for 2 years. It was not warm. It was not heartfelt. But it was in writing, and it was legally binding. I deposited the check. I paid off my medical bills. I put $3,000 into a dedicated emergency medical fund that only I could access. I used the rest to buy a new refrigerator for my apartment, one large enough to store all my medication safely at home. The refrigerator is white, plain, and utterly unremarkable. But every time I open it and see my medication sitting there, organized and secure, I feel something close to peace. 6 months later, in December 2024, I got a message from a cousin I had not spoken to in years. She said my brother and his wife had separated. Apparently, the honeymoon in Bali had been a disaster. They fought the entire time. The marriage lasted 4 months. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt sad. Sad that my parents had sold my survival for something that did not even last. But I also felt free. I have not spoken to my parents since June. The restraining order expired in April 2025, but I have not reached out. I do not know if I ever will. Some people say family is everything. I used to believe that. Now I believe that safety is everything. Respect is everything. My life is everything. Priya and I still meet every Thursday for coffee. We call it our baseline check-in. We talk about our health, our boundaries, and our wins. Last month, I got promoted at work. My new title comes with a raise and better health insurance. I am building a life where I am not the backdrop anymore. I keep the binder in my closet. I have not needed to open it in months, but I know it is there. Evidence, proof. A record that I stood up and said, no, my life matters. That is the lesson I learned. You teach people how to treat you. For years, I taught my parents that I was expendable. I taught them my needs could wait. I taught them that my survival was negotiable. I do not teach that anymore. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment and tell me where you are watching from. And if you have ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own survival, I see you. You are not selfish. You are not wrong. You deserve to be your own priority. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about boundaries, survival, and finding your voice. I will be here.